Good morning, everyone. This is Jody Tate with Blue Door Group at Wilkinson ERA, and I am here with teammate Jerry Aldridge. We are starting a series of videos with Jerry called The Healthy Home. And for those that are not aware, Jerry's background is one in science and research. He has a PhD in research in infectious diseases, with a focus actually on respiratory diseases. So not only do we have Jerry here as an expert in real estate, he moved back here with his family so that they could raise their son, Luke, here. But Jerry also has a wealth of experience and knowledge in research, science, and that sort of thing. So he's going to do a series of videos for us on the healthy home. And we're going to start out this one with some basic terminology about disinfectants and cleaning your home. So Jerry, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jody. Yeah, so what we'll talk about today are basic home cleaners, things we use to clean the kitchen, the bathroom, and whatnot. And to start with, the thing I thought would be most appropriate is to define a few of the terms, because in the advertising market, they use these terms interchangeably, often, in my opinion, to try to confuse people, to get them to buy more, when the terms aren't necessarily what they're interpreted as. So a few of the terms. So what is a disinfectant, a sanitizer, a cleaner, or sterilizer? So to start with, number one, disinfectant and sanitizer, they're not the same thing. A disinfectant is what we're looking for when we're trying to remove microbes. It will destroy, irreversibly inactivate pathogens, viruses, bacteria, mold in most cases. A sanitizer, on the other hand, is something that reduces these numbers. It will not eliminate. These hand sanitizers we talk about, it will reduce, but it will not eliminate all pathogens there. And the fact of the matter is, these are most often alcohol-based, and alcohol-based sanitizers are not extremely effective against viruses. It will give a false sense of security. A cleaner is, on the other hand, is something like a detergent that is used to help loosen soils or to remove organic matter. It's not something that will destroy microorganisms. Sterilization is the absolute killing. So this would be extreme heat, for instance, or a very strong chemical agents. So a couple other terms that you may see on these cleaners would be a germicide or a germostatic. Basically, think about the end, the side, C-I-D-E, or static. If you see side, that means it kills. If you see static, a germostatic, it does not kill. It's designed to help keep the microorganism from replicating. So to move on to a couple of the traditional ones, if we go to the grocery store or to Walmart and look on the cleaning shelf, although they may be empty right now, classically, there are three basic cleaners that were the most popular. And that would have been your chlorine-based, bleach-based ones, peroxide-based, or ammonia-based. And the basic standby, and still what is the best, will be the Clorox or the bleach-based ones. This should be the go-to for disinfectant. It will kill most anything given some time. So if you're trying to make your own solution from bleach itself, there's a lot of confusion about how much to use, where the reality is about a 1 to 200 ratio of pure bleach, of laundry bleach. It gives about a 0.025% solution. This is effective in most all cases. It's been tested in the laboratories numerous times, over and over. So to make that yourself, put about 1.5 tablespoons of bleach per gallon of water. Now you can take that up if it's an area that you think is heavily contaminated. You can take it up to about 1/8 of a cup per gallon. But you don't want to go much higher than that, because this is quite caustic and it can damage your materials you're spraying, and if you get on your skin, will be a strong irritant. Another one you'll see commonly is hydrogen peroxide, and while this will work well, the concentration needed for it to work as well as bleach is not available to the general public. When you go buy peroxide off the shelf at the pharmacy, you're going to get about a 3% peroxide. When you look into the industrial use, it's at 30%. But this is a very dangerous concentration for the consumer to use. Number one, if you get it in the wrong situations, a chemical reaction can cause fires quite quickly. So as a consumer use, the peroxide-based ones are not as effective as bleach. The other one is the ammonia-based, and these are good. The advantage to the ammonia-based is that it does have detergent properties. So if we go back to those definitions, disinfectant, cleaner, the ammonia-based has good cleaner capacity as well to remove soils and organic material. The key with the ammonia-based is it takes time. So if you spray your counter with the ammonia base, the 409 for instance, and you wipe it off instantly, you're not going to kill very much of what's there. The key for it is to spray the counters, leave the room for 5 minutes, come back, now wipe it clean. And for me, this would normally be what I would use. So if I was chopping vegetables or fruits and I just need to clean the counter, the ammonia base is my go-to because it will disinfect, but it will also clean well. But if I've just cut fresh meat, for instance, the go-to should be bleach. I will always use that. And again, time does matter. It's spraying and wiping it off immediately. Yes, that will kill a lot, but the best is to spray it, leave the room for a few minutes so you're not breathing the chlorine, come back, then wipe it clean.
Got it.
Now, recently, a lot of others have become popular. Let's say there's been quite strong marketing of things like the citric acid based or vinegar based, baking soda based. The reality is none of these work nearly as effectively as bleach. So citric acid, I was doing some searches in the scientific literature just to see the people that have actually tested this without a financial gain. So you have to be careful. If you Google search citric acid based cleaners, you're going to find a ton of websites that claim, oh, this is great, it's just as effective or better than bleach. Well, then you have to look at who wrote that. The sites that are promoting this are the ones that are selling it. They have financial interest in it. So always look at who is saying it. If you go back to the scientific literature where people are studying it, they have nothing to gain or lose. It makes no difference to them one way or another, which way it goes. They're just there to test and provide the results. What you will see is the concentration of citric acid needed to sterilize or to disinfect is way higher than that is safe for general use. So for instance, the concentration of citric acid in a lemon, it's about 5%. Well, if we look at what can actually disinfect, if we have a 10% solution, minimum contact time of 10% to even show a reduction in bacteria. Really, you need about a 25% solution of citric acid. And that is so strong that if you get it on your skin, you will have burns come up within less than a minute, very, very quickly. So to reach the point where the acid base are effective, the same thing goes with vinegar. Your common vinegar is about 4% acetic acid. Well, to get it up to where it's effective, you need about 30% acetic acid or higher. And this is very dangerous to use. So yes, they may be okay at cleaning. And again, keep an idea of the term. Citric acid may clean, but at the concentration that you can get them in the sprays at stores, it's not going to be effective at disinfecting. So the key is to look at the ingredients. Go to the back of the bottles. Look at active ingredients. The inert ingredients, not so important. Look at the active ingredients. And really what you're wanting to look for, if you're trying to disinfect, find one that is based on bleach, the sodium hypochlorite. This is going to be the one that is the most effective. And what I can say is when we were in the lab, this is what we used. If at all possible. There are sometimes you can't use bleach because it is caustic to the surfaces, but if bleach can be used, that should be the go-to. A couple other things to keep in mind, and I've mentioned it a couple of times. Contact time is key. Spraying these on and wiping it off instantly, that's not very effective. It takes time for these to actually kill. The hand sanitizers that come in at 70% alcohol or 50 to 70%, the reality is when they're testing in a lab, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to even reduce the bacteria there. So wiping it on and off isn't that effective. The other thing to keep in mind with alcohol, I've had some people ask, well, what if I go higher concentration? What if I use 95% alcohol? And the reality is that is less effective than 30% because the way alcohol works, it needs some water there. If you go pure alcohol, it's not as effective. So at the end of the day, the go-to for cleaning, as I mentioned, for meats and things where you're contaminating with bacteria, that should be bleach. If it's something that you're trying to disinfect and clean or remove organic matter at the same time, the best place to go will be your ammonia base because, again, they're less hazardous. The one thing I will point out, though, if you're using bleach, never, ever mix it with ammonia, one, or any acid. So whether it's vinegar, citric acid, any other acid. The problem with that is it will cause a chemical reaction that gives off chlorine gas, and that is very hazardous to the health. So if you do have both bleach and ammonia in the home, as I do, just don't use them at the same time.
I've got two questions for you, Jerry. You mentioned sodium chloride. Is that the technical name as far as bleach for an active ingredient? Is that what I'm looking for on the back of the bottle?
No, so if I said that, I misspoke. It was sodium hypochlorite. So sodium chloride is salt. That's your basic table salt.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're after. It's sodium hypochlorite will be what you're looking for. But really, you're looking for chlorine, something that says chlorine. If chlorine is there, that's what you're after.
All right. And then my other question is, you brought up hand sanitizers because, now everyone's out there saying, keep hand sanitizer close by. So when we are hand sanitizing, let's say in the car, they're talking about like doing your steering wheel and all of that kind of stuff. Is that doing anything that is beneficial? Is it reducing anything? Is there a reason for us to be doing hand sanitizer all the time?
So again, that's going to come back, I think, to a matter of opinion. I don't. The thing is, it can reduce, but it's not going to completely disinfect. The reality is, I think too many people have started using hand sanitizer in place of washing your hands, and it is not. Washing your hands, and the key there is not even the soap that you're using. The effectiveness of washing your hands is the water hitting your hands, knocking it off. Think of what a physician does before they go into surgery. They don't wash their hands for 10 seconds or 30 seconds. They're under the water for minutes at a time. It's the running water that makes the washing hands effective. Using sanitizer is probably perfectly fine, and it may help when washing hands is not an option, but it should not be used in place of washing your hands.
Okay, and then the last thing that I want to mention, and this may be something that we take into our next video session, but probably it's important for people to check the reaction on different surfaces with these different disinfectants, sanitizers, cleansers, because different materials, whether it's like a granite or a quartz or a laminate, different surfaces are going to respond to different solutions. So that's probably something that we need to tell the public. Make sure that you're checking, how to properly disinfect the surface that you have.
For sure. And that's, I think I briefly mentioned the bleach is more limited. You can't use it everywhere, not just because it can remove colors, but it can damage, particularly with some metals. It's not very safe for the surface itself. Ammonia would be the one that's much more, let's say, user-friendly. You mentioned granite. So if you ever go to the cleaning section and look at the granite spray cleaners, look at the back and you'll see what's in them. They're ammonia based. So the reality is you could probably pay a fraction of the price using 409 and it's going to do the same thing as the expensive granite cleaner. It's the same chemical that's in there. So that's why I mentioned, look at the active ingredient on the back, because often you can get the same thing much cheaper. When these companies market it for a specific purpose, they'll jack the price up because people will buy it just for that. And the reality is you didn't need to.
That's excellent. Very good. Well, this has been really, really interesting and illuminating, and I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we will continue these series. If you have any questions for Jerry, don't hesitate to reach out to him at jerry@openthebluedoor.com, or you can call the Blue Door Group phone number 336-747-3245. Thank you guys, and Jerry, have a great day.
Thank you.